Yeah, all right. Hey, welcome to the Jesse Lee Falls podcast. I got Daniel Lawrence with me. Hey, Daniel. And we've
How's it
got
going?
Vern, as always. Okay, so Daniel, singer, songwriter, guitar player, bass player. What style of music do you primarily do?
Realistically, I do everything, but for what I typically love doing is more like the rock to like melodic metal.
Mm-hmm.
Basically is what I like doing. It's just it kind of hits the soul a little deep in there, and that's what makes me happy.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, I grew up on groove metal. Pantera.
Yeah.
You know.
I know a
don't know.
lot of people probably disagree with what I have to say, but like, okay, so grew up on, of course, I grew up with Pantera, of course,
Mhm.
Marilyn Manson, Godsmack. What really turned me, aside from Korn and Pantera, was Mudvayne. The minute that I heard Chad Gray's voice, I was like, that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Spent 10 years perfecting the vocal,
Oh,
which
yeah.
which I'll never be a Chad Gray ever, but he taught me a lot by trying to imitate his vocal.
Yeah.
And then the lead singer, which I friended, is grade 8 Ryan Tooker. Like, just listening to those two guys like gave me kind of my own style, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. Like it's really important to have heroes because mostly what we do is mimicking,
Mhm.
really, right? I mean, because I've got, Joe Satriani was my guy. That was the guy that, like, I mean, when I started, I was 13, and so what I really got into right out of the gate was Megadeth.
Oh
Okay?
yeah, huge fan of Megadeth.
So I was like way bigger into Megadeth. I was on the Megadeth side. I wasn't on the Metallica side. I was one of those guys.
I will never be a Metallica fan. I appreciate their music, but
Yeah, I mean, I love Metallica. In fact, I just did a podcast just a couple days ago, and I was using them as an example of like why it's so important for bands to go through their suck phase.
oh yeah,
Because you learn from that. I mean, it's like it's an invaluable process, like to like put out something bad. It's like you got to do that.
you
man.
gotta suck before you get better.
And it was weird, and I was using them as an example because I was like, well, it's really weird to see them like, in mid-career, that's when they decided to start sucking because I'm sorry. And again, like you guys, I'm not slamming on them because it came full circle because the stuff that they've been producing lately is like, oh, finally, man, they came back around because I've heard some of their new shit and it's like, oh, damn.
I
like,
have
there
heard it was pretty
is.
good. Yeah,
Like, there it is. Like, where have you guys been, And so that's exciting because it's like, don't lose faith. Like, okay, like we all put out bad shit sometimes, but like, don't lose faith. Like, don't stop.
Could you imagine being even Beatles? I love the Beatles through and through from beginning until their last song. I mean, they just finished a song from John Lennon 3-song tape that they got in the 80s.
Mhm.
They got it. Yoko gave it to him in what is it, 95, and they did 2 songs off of it in 97 and 2000. It was like early 2000s, and then they just finished the latest song, and that was beginning of this year or late last year.
That's so cool.
And it was phenomenal. We'll never hear the Beatles again after that.
Mhm.
But like even they sucked.
Yeah,
Like
they had
they
their suck
weren't-
moments, dude.
yeah, but could you imagine
They
writing
did.
a hit, and then continuing writing hits for the rest of your life? There's
Yeah,
no way.
It's I mean, I don't know, man. Musicians have these weird, like, I don't know where these expectations come from, man. I mean, I get that, like, there are a lot of times it comes from the pressure from the higher ups and the elites that are going, you guys got to put out another hit. You guys got to put out another hit. We want an album just like you did the last one. And it's like, okay, cool. So there's not going to be any creative freedom anymore. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to become a factory of ourselves,
Look at Stain. Did you ever watch a documentary on
I didn't,
Aaron
no.
Lewis?
No.
So it wasn't just Aaron Lewis. Primarily it was, but I mean, it was dark.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he wound up becoming a complete dick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Well,
it was
jades
just
us,
being
man.
under pressure.
It jades us really bad, dude. I
And
mean,
yeah, it does.
and this podcast is about the micro music side of it, right? This is about the micro business, and you know, but I do try to point out that like the things that people go through on the macro side, people go through on the micro side too. I mean, it's like we really are going through the same stuff, especially when it comes to like, you know, temptation, debauchery,
Yeah.
The dark. What they call the dark triad, you know, Machiavellianism, narcissism, psychopathy, and then they've got the new one, the one that they attached to it just recently, sadism, right?
Okay.
So it's like, how do you like not become these things in the process of while you're trying to do something really cool and creative, but you're
It's
just
hard.
around like dark figures all
Yeah.
the time, dude. You're just around dark people. You're just around, you know, people who are using the Machiavellian stuff, man. It's like the manipulative stuff, man. I mean, everybody's trying to, you know, either have a bunch of yes men around you, or maybe like the one guy in your band that you're like, I kind of need this guy to be a yes man, and he's like the no guy, you know. And so it's like you can never
Yeah.
quite get the chemistry just right, you know.
That's kind of why I was in an awesome band, and we left off on not so great terms, but like Harbor Place, I couldn't wait to have the potential to be in that band.
Yeah.
Not my style of music, but I appreciate it. It was really good music.
Mm-hmm.
And it offered a lot to me as a bass player to have the freedom to kind of like do what I do best.
Yeah.
You know, now don't get me wrong. I've played a lot of instruments growing up, but bass was my thing. And then to find a white rapper
Yeah.
that could rap like nobody else
Yeah,
and be
yeah.
creative and be listenable, like
Right.
the way that he wrote was just phenomenal. And then the rest of the band, Andy, which is the one that I didn't really get along with, and it's really a shame, because he is quite talented. The way that he writes, the way that they together write as a team, and then brought on Rudy and myself,
Mm-hmm.
we were kind of like the four people that needed to be there at the right time to do what most bands need to become more.
Right,
you know?
right. So you were kind of putting yourself in that service mindset, because I talk about that a lot, man.
It's hard
Yeah,
to
it
find
is,
that.
right. Yeah, that's something that I've gone out and I've tried to be a hired gun. I think maybe 3 times in my whole entire fucking music career, but I'm a bad employee. And so
Yeah.
like I'm like, you know what, I really just have to kind of work for myself, and even though I can't really keep a band together because I've put myself in a position where it's like, okay, it's the Jesse Lee Falls band, so a lot of the players just don't ever feel like they can get ownership in there, and so they kind of put on an employee mindset, and it's because they kind of put on a hired gun mindset, and then it's like, okay, well, look, man, like. And so I can understand from their perspective that it's like, okay, well, it's kind of hard to like be your band member when I just don't ever feel like I'm getting any kind of ownership. It's like, well, you got to stick around for a few years, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not,
Or even just make the 6-month mark.
Yeah, it's like I'm not handing out equality, dude. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, you're the new guy, and like you're gonna have to, like, you know, I'm not gonna Jason Newsted your ass, but but like, no, you don't get an equal share. No, like you don't get equal say.
Yeah.
You know, and so like I understand like it's really hard to keep the dynamics of a band together because, you know, in order for me to even continue to be a band, I realized I had to use my own name.
Yeah.
Because if I go under a band name, and I swap players out, then people really get butthurt because they're like, hey, man, like, as far as I was concerned, that drummer made your band, dude, and you kicked out the guy that, you know, it's like, I didn't kick him out, he left, you know?
Dude,
like,
I am
these
going...
guys all leave.
I'm going through that right now. So I started the band.
It's hard to keep your marketing and your brand the same.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's where I was going with that. But go ahead.
No, it's 100% completely true. So, when did I start the band? June 2018 or no? It was June 2019. Started the band Shattered Shell.
Mm-hmm. Which I like that name.
I
think that's a
and I
better
appreciate
name than Harbor. That's a better name than Harbor Place. I mean,
it's fitting for the area. You know what I mean?
Well,
both names.
Well, actually, marketing wise, it tells me what type of music I'm getting into.
Yes.
Harbor Place doesn't do that.
Right, and I get that.
I agree with what you said because I saw you guys at the Brew Cup last year.
Yep.
And I was like, oh yeah, these guys have a cool sound. This is a legitimate
God,
band.
that was so much fun.
This is like a legitimate band.
Yeah.
You know, this is like, you know, okay, cool. This is harder, but they got the rap, the rock rap thing, which I like because, you know, I kind of do right. I know it's more like in the funk soul genre, but
Right.
I try to add some rock in there, you know, so the rock funk thing, the rock rap thing. I like the fusion.
I don't even know what you would call them. Like pop punk, maybe, or with a little like alternative sound to it, maybe.
Well, no, I'll tell you exactly. You know, it would be on like Rage Against the Machine radio on Pandora.
You're not wrong. That
Yeah,
I've
it would
heard
be
that
right
so
in
many
there.
times.
It'd be
too.
right. Yeah, of course it would be, man. It would be like right there with I mean, Beastie Boys, Rage Against the Machine, Anthrax, and Public Enemy, and it's all.
It's
nice
not
stuff,
bad.
dude.
It's not a bad mix to be into.
no,
You know what I
no,
mean?
that's
I've seen
good.
Anthrax live. Holy hell!
Did you see them with Public Enemy?
No, I saw them.
Oh, God,
God, where was I? I was. I went to the Rockville concert, which is like over 160,000 people that
Jesus.
go, and this is in Daytona Beach, Florida, and I finally got to see them. I don't care how old they get.
Dude,
They are just amazing.
I was just jamming Anthrax. Oh my God, I just got goosebumps because I was just watching footage, just live footage of them with Public Enemy and the shows and the fucking stage performance and presence. It's like, I mean, you watch like old Parliament stuff with George Clinton and it's like, oh, there's a party on the fucking stage.
Yeah.
Dude.
Can you believe he's
Anthrax
still alive?
and Public Enemy is like, oh my God,
Yeah.
dude. It's, I mean, I was sitting here like watching it and it was like just all this stuff from the 90s and I was like, oh my God, I forgot how fucking badass
Yeah.
that, you know, that little collaboration was. It was so short-lived but it was like there wouldn't be a Rage Against the Machine if that hadn't happened, dude.
No, and you know what? Rage Against the Machine isn't even Rage Against the Machine anymore.
Well, yeah.
That whole anarchy. I mean, look in the world we live in now. Like, you couldn't get more soft back than you can get right now. Like right now, like there is no going back.
Are you saying that it's hard to be an anti-establishment person and get signed to a record label at the same time?
Yeah, because some of these feelings are going to get hurt before you even say anything.
Well, you know what's funny, man? So like I do funk and soul music, but you know what I tell people is like, well, it doesn't really matter what style of music I do. I'm more fucking punk rock than the punk rock bands. And they go, well, what do you mean by that? I go, I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Punk bands today are trying to get signed.
Yep.
So how anti-establishment are they really?
Yeah.
You want to talk to somebody that's anti-establishment? When it comes to the music industry, it's this guy. Because I fucking hate the macro side of it. I hate it. And honestly, man, I mean, I'm trying to actually detour, you know, the smaller bands and the smaller musicians who get frustrated because the industry, it seems impossible to navigate, dude. I mean, it seems impossible to get famous. It's like, dude, that's not what it's about. You know what it's about? It's about being creative and then being able to survive off of your art, dude. Just like thinking micro numbers, because you don't need 1 million fans. You need 1,000 hardcore fans.
Yeah.
Get into realistic numbers so that way you don't feel like you're being squashed.
So, okay. So I'm going to go back real quick before I get to where we're at right now. Mm-hmm. So going back to your, it's really hard to be in a band, right? Because I'm going to lead into where you're at right now. So I agree with you. I am one of those that is really hard to be in a band with. And it's not so much because I'm egotistical. Which it could be misconstrued as that.
Vision?
I have a vision. So if you can't be better tomorrow than you were the day before, or be better today than you were the day before, what are you doing?